Yeah, so first of all, really thank you guys for making MICES happen. So to all the organizers, people that are involved, I really appreciate it, because at MICES, it's a unique experience because you can talk about non-technical stuff. Normally, I'm a tech guy. I always go into technical details, but here you can really change the focus and talk about the broader picture. And today I want to exactly do that, even though the claim is towards data-driven exploration versus exploitation. But you will see in a minute that under the hood, it's putting the e-commerce search in a bigger context. So first of all, I want to really look, or let's say, put a little bit on focus on the dilemma I see when going to customers and talk with them, which I call the keyhole view. We'll explain it in a bit. Then the explore versus exploit challenge. So we know we kind of operate in an echo chamber. So when we change something, this change already changes the behavior of the people we expect. So we influence whatever they will do and see. And at the end, I would like to give you a summary on how we might break these things or enable to learn new stuff. Yeah, so dilemma again. We are analyzing the world through a keyhole. And I think this is exactly how it is. So we get a lot of signals. Everybody of us crunches data signals. However, we will never have a complete picture. It captures the what, so what happened, but not why and how. So what was the intention of the customer coming to the site? Did he really was looking for something, or intentionally bought something, or he was eager to, I don't know, let's say he had a broken cable and he needed one right now. But to really go into the deepness why something happened, we cannot see this from the tracking data or signals we collect. And even more importantly, it will never tell us what could have been. And although I'm really technical, I spend a lot of time looking at classical retail. So this is already there since hundreds of years, and you can learn a lot how these companies place their shops, how they dress their windows, how they position their products. And in e-commerce, we are already lacking so much. You cannot feel the product. You cannot use light to highlight something. You cannot use your smell, which is used very frequently in retail. So we need to find ways. Sorry. We need to find ways to still give this kind of feeling and yeah, immersive feeling to the customer. And one proof point for me always when I look at yeah, let's say e-commerce vendors is what I call the product exposure. So I know charts, not everybody likes charts, but it is really simple. So at the end of the day, on the x-axis, it shows you the cumulative SKU count, so all the products this shop has in stock and sells. And then the blue curve is kind of what kind rate of this product is seen by customers. Yeah, so and you see that only 20% of the products, so this customer has around 30,000 products, only I rounded 90% of the products, only 20% of these products generate 90% of all the views and clicks. So essentially 80% of the stock is just hidden somewhere and never gets the chance to be seen. And by that, never gets the chance to get clicks, cards, buys, important signals for us. And I think that's a pity. I mean, of course, you could come up with clever ideas and always come up with, yeah, AI can solve it. But I think more important is to understand what is the business problem behind it. Yeah, and I think that's really important. Additionally, the red curve is the product margin. And that's when you put this into the business context, you will see the following. So first is another really important thing, and that's why it's so bold. The performance of a product which has never been seen cannot be judged. So, and that's another thing really a lot of people struggle with. They always think, yeah, but this is the best selling product. Yeah, because you see it on every single page. So the likelihood that people click on it and buy it is quite high. But for a product that has never been seen, you don't know anything. You don't know if it sucks, and you don't know if it could be the best-selling product in your shop. That's why we need some kind of exploration. Yeah, and now this is really the business problem, which again, I see in a lot of, let's say, vertical teams where they have been told, hey, you have to optimize CTR, you have to optimize CR. Sometimes, if they are really mature, the customer lifetime value. But on the other hand, e-commerce is more. I mean, every product you have in stock produces costs, and these costs need to be taken care of. And on the other hand, on the short-head products, there is the biggest competition. If you have a t-shirt, or if you are selling a t-shirt that everybody wants, the likelihood that other shops will sell it as well, and potentially for a lower price, are pretty high. So again, there's a huge challenge here on product margins. And that's why exploring your own assortment and generating kind of new signals is so important. Yeah, so I only want to give a real, let's say, hands-on and brief explanation on what I mean by exploration and exploitation. So exploration has the aim to, let's say, bring products and potential users together. And even by viewing a product, you can influence the customer. Maybe he has a forgotten need, and by seeing the product, oh, I always wanted to buy a nice grill, but I never had the time. Now it's here, it's a good price, I'll take it. Or create even new needs. Yeah, I don't want to be, I don't want to blame women for that, but if you look on how women, let's say, buy fashion, there's a lot of inspirational idea behind it. So they think sometimes in complete looks, or they want to go to a specific event, and then they are already taking care of how would I dress, what do I have to buy. And all of this is hidden away. We only would see, hey, they clicked here, they bought that, but why, for what reason, and what was the impulse or the activation, we never know. And on the other hand, there's the exploitation. This is where all the data engineers and the ML takes place. So we're taking the signals, and based on the signals, we're trying to increase some KPI. And yeah, so while in e-commerce, we tend to exploit, in retail, it's a little bit different. So there, products and product types are moved around depending on time, depending on their sell-through rate, and then they really optimize the placement of a product type or a specific product in terms of this sell-through rate. So they place it differently, and by placing it differently, they're not just optimizing this particular product, but they're optimizing the way the customer moves through the store. And by changing this, the customer sees additional products and might buy something different or additional. So this is something that, at least in e-commerce, is very, very rarely seen. Yeah, and we could use this information. And so again, exposure is the foundation of exploration. So I have to see something, at least in the digital world, to activate myself or trigger something. That's why exposure creates this trigger, and if the trigger is there, I might go through this exploration and evaluation loop. Do I need it now? Do I wait? Is the price okay? Is the shop where I would like to buy or not? Or do I change the shop? And afterwards, I'm going through this buying experience and hopefully a purchase for us. But at the end of the day, I think it would be way better to bring these two, let's say, concepts, right now it's our drifting concepts, closer together, and maybe we can then add additional value for our customers and for ourselves, so the shop owners, on top of that. And how could we do that? So we tried it. So we did what we call random exploration. Here it's 10% of the results. We just added or changed products in there based on randomization, not completely random. So you still have to take care of the context. So maybe the same product type or something related. I cannot just inject a grill when somebody is searching for a high heel, I guess. I didn't try it, but I don't think it makes sense. And by this really small change, we've already doubled the viewed assortment. So the way more products of the stock have been seen, have been exposed to people and had the chance to be clicked and bought, and it really worked. So more have been bought, but even more important for this specific customer was the uplift in margin, because for the shorthead, he normally buys the customer beforehand, and then the customer has to have several visits and buys until he reaches a margin, a positive margin. Before, normally he's just a bought customer with a negative margin. And yeah, that's why these customers are really looking into how can we survive, because CR is not that important for them. For them, it's important that a customer stays a customer and they make money with every buy. Yeah, so here I brought you a couple of examples for this. So on the left-hand side, you see the old lister page. On the right side, you see exactly the same lister page, but changed on 3 different positions. And how you change it really depends on the usage, on the data. So here it was changed by product type. So it's a search for bags. And yeah, I didn't know that either, but there are a lot of different bags for different use cases, so sports bags and stuff like that. And it's really hard to get a ranking there that satisfies every need. You don't know it upfront. When somebody searches for a bag, if he now is looking more into sports or laptop bag or a weekender, I think this is called weekender, I'm not sure, this one here. But at the end of the day, what random exploration exactly helps you there. It tries things, and by trying things, you can learn new things, only by trying things. And that's the interesting part. It might hurt in some cases. So you might end up with some of these explorations that are, let's say, underperforming in terms of the original, but in other cases, it will definitely overperform. And in this case, which was the best one, the page value was increased about 9%. And that's exactly what the customer wanted. And not only the shop owner as a customer, the buyers as well, because they decided to buy this. That's another one. Here, it's really specific. It's football boots. But still here, you see they are varying about the skill level, prices. And I mean, if I'm a young, new soccer kid, I might not want to spend 200 euros for a professional soccer shoe. But on the other hand, if I'm a very skilled player, I might need one of these. And again, by balancing this, and this balance there's no rule for that. So it's just randomly picking products, seeing how they perform. If they underperform, get some new random ones in. If they perform, leave them. And I think this is exactly how it could be done. By the way, this has already been done since years in recommendation systems, not so much in search. Yeah. But how could you do it? I already touched it a little bit. So the best thing is if you have some kind of query understanding available, because this reduces the risk of picking something completely off and wrong. If you have something like that, then it's always good as a starting point to pick the kind of products from the same product type and then look at their performance. And the performance is most likely something like, how often have they been exposed, so viewed by the customer, in relation to clicks, cards, buys, whatever KPI you have. So if a product has shown 1,000 times, nobody clicked at it, maybe it's not the best performing one. If, let's say, it has been shown 100 times and 100 times clicked and bought, it's better. But if you don't have a query understanding, what also works maybe not that good and you need a little bit more control is you can just add randomized values during indexing and use this as a ranking value for your ranking function. You have to handle the edge cases, but it really works. Maybe not so good like the query understanding, but it is the easiest way to test it. Maybe for a couple of queries or a couple of specific products, and then you can see how it works. So it's really simple. The matter of the fact is, we are still looking for a keyhole because we only have this, let's say 9, 12, sometimes only 2 products we can show in the viewport. So it will always be a keyhole, but at least exploration can help us to make it bigger, to get a broader scope, to learn more new things, and more about our customers as well. Yeah. As a summary, and as I said, it's not really technical, but as key takeaways, really, if you're working with data or if you are working hard on optimizing specific KPIs, don't let the data or these KPIs limit your abilities to learn and explore what your customers want. Because if you lose this connection to your customer, you are doomed. Even if your CR goes up, it might go up now, but in a couple of years, you will be the next Karstadt, whatever. Don't let the tracking data limit your customer exploring what they want. That's exactly the same. I've seen a lot of customers with I don't care about the customer, show them always the top sellers. But then if you look at the data, you see, no, they are start scrolling to find what they're looking for. And then this shop doesn't understand me, I go to the competitor. So give them the chance to find what they are looking for. And another really cool thing is that exploration helps you to challenge your current state. I mentioned at the beginning, we never see what could have been, but with exploration, you can, because you give some sort of traffic to products, to your parts of your assortment, which you've never thought of, and now got data on it. And you know me, I think since 5 or 6 years, I always praise the thing, if you have in-house knowledge from classical retail, please go to these people, talk to them, and use this information. I've seen customers talking to these guys which are designing these window shops in front of the stores. And once they came in and helped to design some specific landing pages, there was huge increases in KPIs, just because they thought of the problem in a different way and they knew the customers or what they were looking for. So please go out and use this information. And another really important thing is all of what I've just told you can be achieved without any personal information. I'm a strong believer that personal information is personal, and we shouldn't just use it for whatever whatever we want to improve. So give your customers the freedom to explore, to not be in a bubble, and yeah, this might help you as a business as well. I want to end this talk with I think a really cool statement of by the way, this is an investor in classical retail, but I think he really nails it. So if we're just thinking about retail as, yeah, I have some need and retail is the vehicle to get what I need. I mean, this is, I don't want to work in a field like that. You know, I would more like to work in a field where it's about connecting products and people, and to exchange things, ideas. That's why new products come out, and people are going crazy about it. And we really have to think out of the box, I think, and give this retail again an inspiring feature. Yeah, I'm already done with all of slides. If you have questions,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for a very inspiring and interesting talk. So the floor is open for questions. There's one already.
Hi, thanks for the talk. You mentioned that exploration led to an increase of page value. Could you comment on how do you measure page?
So in this case, page value was really for every customer that saw the page, it was essentially the margin of this, let's say, of the whole board, of the whole basket session. Sorry. So English. So it depends on what the customer wants. So that's why I'm using a page value for some margin. I think the best one is margin, but for some it's just, let's say, the revenue, the AOV, or CR, whatever it means.
Thank you for your talk. You have shown us 2 examples where these recommendations worked. Have you had examples where it worked, and what did you learn from it?
A lot. So this is the answer for both questions. A lot. So there had been cases where it didn't work, but the interesting thing is, didn't mention that the KPIs were worse. There was just no uplift. There were only a few where the KPIs were going down, and given the traffic, it's not even significantly clear if the change was the effect is caused by the change or not. But there will always be some samples where you say, hey, this random injection is not the best. But at least for what I can, for generic queries, so things like where I'm searching for this kind of football or bag, where you have many different types of this product, it works really, really well. I mean, if I'm searching for, I don't know, a product that is only there in 4 different variations, let's say colors, and only 4 products, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So I cannot give you one number, and on the other hand, what I can tell you also is it depends on the vertical. So in fashion, it works really well. We have seen it in DIY working really well. I have not tested it. I can imagine that in furniture, it could work really well, but there must be verticals where it doesn't work at all. I don't know.
Hi, yeah, thanks for the talk, very exciting. I have a question. You showed the examples, like you exchanged like 2 or 3 products. My question is, how do you decide how many products you exchange? And the second question is, it's very close to the diversity in ranking topic. We discussed it in former MICES. How did you pick the queries where you do this exchange? Do you have some kind of measurement for diversity to see where is very low, and then you use these to exchange items?
So here I really presented it in a very generic way, because I mean, we as a vendor of software, we have the capability to our customer, and if he uses our product, we can help him really specifically. So there it would be like, we can tune the number of picks. We normally start with less and then see if it works, and then try to increase, because what we always measure is the current performance of each and every product. And if we see that the rate of products in a result set where where a lot of products are underperforming is high, then we would inject more. Your second question was, sorry, yeah. So we measure diversity again in the current state. So we have a kind of a definition. I've already shared it, I think 2 or 3 miles before, where we kind of having a kind of entropy measurement of what is the query and where is the product types that have been clicked and bought. But to be honest, it only showed us later where it works particularly well. We didn't use it to pick where to do it. This normally the customer is pretty, risk aware. So if you tell the customer, yeah, I would like to juggle with your rankings, he said, are you sure? And that's why it's the best to start slowly. Maybe say, hey, look at this query. It is really underperforming. We wouldn't lose a lot, I mean, we can already predict kind of pretty closely how much we would lose if we would change a lot. And if he says, yeah, let's try it, then we'll go on. You have to be selective. That's why I said it. Don't do it just as one thing. Like with the LTR, I've seen a lot of customers doing LTR, and when they rolled it out on all their queries on the entire set, they first had massive bumps. And then they started looking into it and said, yeah, but here it works very well for this specific query or this specific topic. Here not so. And then they started tuning. And I think you have to do this exactly the same. So it's exploration, experimentation for me are really close together.
Thank you, Andy. Well, first, I celebrate that you take the big picture and you think as a shop owner or retailer, and that's to be celebrated. So thank you for that. The question is that as you've been doing this experimentation on variations on the SERP, have you experimented with variations in the structure of the SERP, not only elements, but the design or the state? By that, I mean the way that design moves and correlates in motion with different parts. So not just changing what, but how.
No, unfortunately not. I would love to do this. And technically it's possible. I mean, from the data part. So how to measure if it works or not, or to trigger it. But to be honest, with most customers we're talking to, they are not able to change anything in their front end just like that. It's a huge IT project, and a lot of different people have to be asked. The product manager for this category, no, you cannot change this here. I need, and you know, this is, if you're adding a lot of internal friction, then the willingness to experiment goes down significantly. And that's, I don't know, we have to find a trade-off here, and I would love to, because I think in how we present products and results would also help tremendously. But right now, there's not enough tool set there, to my knowledge at least. But maybe you guys share something later, hopefully.
Thank you, Andreas. My question is about the user search experience. How do you randomize the boosting of the products? Does it mean that every time a user repeats his search query again, same search query again and again, he gets the different search results?
No.
No?
We could do that, but if I would tell this to a customer, I would say 100 of 100 would say, no, don't do this. Because it would be confusing. I don't know. We've never tested it. Maybe it would be better. I cannot tell you because no customer allowed us to do it. But right now, most of the customers do this on a daily, or depending on the traffic for the query, on a daily or, for example, couple of days or weekly basis. They are really picky and risk aware, like I said.
Thank you for the talk. This is Ahmed Othman from Zalando. Just have a question about, you mentioned that using data and analytics KPIs could be short-sighted for if you are optimizing for conversion, for example. What did you use for long-term optimization KPIs or long-term vision?
I mean, as a consultant, I would only use long-term KPIs. However, as a matter of fact, I can tell you, if I'm trying to pitch that, 7 out of 10 would say, I'm not interested in that. Let's say customer lifetime value. There's only really a few that can measure it, or really take care. Most of the decision makers, at least I'm aware of, they have these simple things like CR, revenue, and stuff like that. And I don't recommend this. But if this is what the customer wants, then we're gonna test this. So it really depends on the customer. And most of the cases, so that's why I picked this one, because I think this is a good example. But there are others that are just looking at CR. And I tell them, hey, even if we show there are significant uplifts, it could be related to something completely different. I don't know, the weather changed. Yeah. And before you had your top sellers like all long trousers, and now everybody wants a short trouser. I don't know. Or they have a special sale for specific products. You don't know, you know. So long term would be the best. At least this is my recommendation.
I have one more question. Thanks for your talk and your insights. I really liked it. So what's your opinion about, you said that for generic queries, this randomization worked really well. And what's your opinion about customers, or do you think customers having these generic queries want to interact with large product lists in the first place?
The thing is, what alternative do you have? We spent really, I mean, let's say 2 years before, I spent 2 or 3 years only on looking on diversity, how people interact with these kind of lists. And the problem is, you can only show a certain amount of products. So either you end up having the need for more clicks, like you can inject tags which say, hey, help us to refine the query or stuff like that. But for every click, and I measured, that we measured, you are losing 30% of your traffic. Yeah, they are just, if you add along a lot of clicks, they're just, hey, it's too complicated for me, I don't have time now, whatever, I just skip the session. So I think if you already know that it's a generic query, then at least give him insight in what you're going to offer. So what can you offer? Is it only this type of shoe? Or maybe I already know that I have a lot of different shoes. I don't know anything about the user, but what do I show him? I show him a variety of shoes. So use it. And the cool thing is, again, you're essentially disparsing your data. And this is the real cool thing, I think. Because for this 80%, you cannot say anything. You don't know why you are having these products in the stock and they are costing you money. And I know a lot of companies where then the CEO comes and, how can we sell off the stock? And but I don't have any signals, I cannot tell you. And that's the thing.
Okay, thank you. I have another question. Is there an alternative to randomness to pick the results that you inject? Yeah, so there could be the philosophical perspective. You could say there is a different world that we're not seeing usually, but you could also say, maybe I want to show that's entirely different from what I'm showing, and that would be more constrained. So have you played with this, or do you have any ideas about that?
What I'm really, yeah, as I said, in physical retail, and I think in the recommendation world, they are really evolving in these kind of directions. But in the classical e-commerce, and you have a lister page, I hope that there are different ways to visualize or to scan through an assortment. But I haven't really found one yet that really kicks. So where you see that there's benefit for both the end user and the customer. But okay. It would be great. But I mean, what I saw is there are vendors that do this by rules. So you enable your shop owners, and they call it visual merchandisers, and then they say, I don't know, let's say I want to have 5, the first row should be white t-shirts, then black t-shirts from a specific brand, and these kind of, but it's not scalable, to be honest. I mean, it works for your big landing pages, but for all, let's say, your mid-sized traffic and long tail, there's no chance.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so another round of applause and to Andreas.